Wally, how much of what you do in the Sweet and Hot Foundation is dedicated to an educational purpose?
All of it. You know, it doesn't. We're not talking about education. See, I don't. I came up from the school that I don't believe in jazz education that much as far as going to college and learning and such like that. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I think when you learn jazz, you just play it. You play it. You play it. I don't think it should be an offered course where somebody who's a very fine musician but has no feeling for jazz gets into it. All of a sudden they know more than the other guys that may have a feeling for it, and they become the so-called stars of the college and such like that. It shouldn't be that way. And I think one thing people have to remember is that no jazz players went to college. The whole thing was formed like right in the clubs, and was formed by blowing, just playing one chorus after another and learning, you know, like that. And that's the only real way to play it. You know, I don't believe I mean, you have to know some things, but you know, we got a lot of ear players, for example, in this event like that. And that's all they do. They don't use chords. Some of them don't even read, and they just whatever they hear, they just play it. And I think that that probably is as important as knowing the chords to a tune, because when you know the chords, unfortunately, you may always play them, you know, and not play lines instead, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's enough to really get me arrested now.
By the jazz police. The jazz police.
This is not an elite club for the for those who lived through the 50s jazz scene. Isn't this mostly about, for you, a cultural transfer?
No, and for this reason. And it's just the times have changed. In the 30s, if you listened to the radio, there was only one thing you heard on the radio, with the exception of a couple of half-hour shows, you know, and then more comedy came later, but it was jazz. And I think I told you this story once. When I got my first gig, I got out of UCLA. I was 23 years old, and I called up a few people, got a gig at on Restaurant Row, and the second or third set, some guy comes in with a remote crew, 3 people, and I didn't even know the guys in the band. It was 3 guys in a rhythm section and me with trumpet and everything, and we did a 15-minute live show on KFI radio. And they left that place, they went down to the next place, because they just wanted to have live music on the radio. They didn't care with people dancing and people getting to, you know, being together in some kind of a congenial situation. And that's another really important thing. All the early jazz players did one thing that many players don't do today. The esoteric guys, the guys that are, you know, the earheads that are just totally involved in what they're thinking about and everything, they had to entertain in order to make money. So jazz was a combination of entertainment and playing. Now a lot of guys, they think, oh no, man, it's all about me. I'm an artist. I do this, you know, and that's all and listen to me. And they get very inside of themselves and confidential and all that sort of thing, you know. And jazz isn't like that. Jazz is just something you just open yourself up to everybody, you know. And
did you guys get the sense that there's a lot to learn, more than they're teaching at UCLA here?
Well, I'm sure they heard a lot of this at UCLA.
Yeah, right. I would say this definitely brought another aspect to learning, like he was saying, other than just the collegiate setting of, you know, learning the scales and learning the, you know, whatever it is. But this actually coming here and hearing it and seeing it in front of you is something that is an experience that I think everybody should, you know, have if they want to play jazz.
And how about what Wally says about entertaining the crowd, entertaining the audience?
I agree. I think it's not just about playing the, you know, melodic minor from the flat 9. You gotta get the crowd involved. The crowd has to understand what's going on. You know, they have to know. They have to feel it with you. You know, entertain them.
Well, jazz has become very academic because of, you know, colleges. It's just it's like doing math.
Right.
It's like writing, you know, it's like a history class, but it's, you know, you have to actually get out there and perform and a lot of young kids who just study jazz at a collegiate level, they don't understand that at all.
Is this purely a jazz-only festival anymore?
Well, we call it a music festival, and it isn't all jazz. I mean, but it's all jazz tinged. That's there, at all times.
What other kind of music do you have?
Well, there's so little that is not jazz-based that it's not really worth talking about. Like we have some groups that do, the banjo thing and the bass thing, and they sing the old songs and that. But there's jazz to that too. I mean, if you go back and you listen to when Paul Whiteman had his big band, it was called, the greatest jazz band around, but it had violins in it and everything. But it was a sweet and hot band, which is, where our name came from, because. Like, for instance, in the Ellington tune where it says, makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. I mean, the sweet music was like with the violins and that thing, and then right in the middle of all those old songs, there'd be they'd be playing da, 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 like that, and then there'd be a thing where they go bop, and the piano would go do, and then it would become hot like that. And that's why when they talked about it, they said, it doesn't make any difference whether it's sweet or hot,
And how about R&B? Have you had an R&B here?
No, the only thing we had is, the Hughes Corporation, but they were like a 70s disco, and then we do have Louis Thomas and his Pieces of Eight, but they play kind of an R&B, I guess, yeah. But maybe a little earlier, like the first guys that played and were actually able to gain any traction with the audience. In the 50s, the first black guys were playing like, I think the first hit that I heard was the Honey Dripper. Remember that tune? Well, see, here's the way. When the bands played in the 30s, people danced to the music. Like when you take something like In the Mood, they didn't dance to the beat. I mean, to the rhythm section. Now everybody just dances the rhythm section. It's so damn loud you can't hear anything else. But in the 30s, the hit records were boo-ba-doo, ba-doo, 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 da. They were dancing to the melody and not to, the beat. Now it's all dancing to the beat and very little melody. But what question did you ask me? I got off the subject.
Well, the idea that it's diversified. It's all sorts of jazz and R&B and disco.
Well, but that part of our just specialties that we do. We had Ernestine Anderson here, and she does some R&B tinge things, but not a lot, because here's what I think. When you talk to most people, what happens is most people, even if they're like 50 or 60 or something, they're thinking about jazz having started with Diz, or Bird or something like that. And that's why I started this festival. Although, like my favorite trumpet players are Chet Baker, Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis, as a trumpet player myself. But we started this because nobody was paying any attention to the beginning of the roots of it. It's just
not Playboy.
Well, it's exactly like saying, "Oh, there's a Van Gogh," but but there's no Titian or something like that. It's somebody from 500 years ago, and that was only 20 years of music, 20s and 30s with jazz. I'm not giving you my whole story because I'm saving it for my book. Come on.
Well, this is a promo for that, isn't it?
There you go. There you go.
Anyway, so next year, are you looking forward to having more UCLA and other swing feelers?
We have swing people here. See, these guys are musicians. They're here hoping, that some gig is going to come up with this like that. And I'm going to go out and see them and see what's going on.
No, but you do have a swing dance.
Oh yeah, we have swing dance here. Yeah. Jonathan Stout. There's a whole movement of that vintage thing where the guys dress up like that and they wear the two-tone shoes and they clip their hair tight.
What's it like seeing these young people who are really trying to emulate your youth?
Well, the way I look at it is they're trying to get back to an earlier era when we were more human than we are now. Because we're rapidly going backwards and we don't even realize it as human beings. We're moving forward incredibly with technology. who we are, you know.
But do they have a genuine appreciation, you think, for your kind of music?
I think the people that, well, actually, they can't have, you know, the people that were sitting in this audience when they heard that last tune and everything, that's what they remember. Hot jazz, when they were young, dancing and everything like that. So they really get into it. And I think you had to be there to really know what it was like, you know. Like these guys, when they listen to it, it may be just like, you know, it's okay, but they're not hearing what they want to hear.
But the swing dancers, the young swing dancers, for them, do they have a new verve for it?
Oh yeah, but they are a unique group, and they're a set group. That it's not some kind of explosion, you know. In the old days, swing dancing was the most popular thing in the country. You know. The big bands, that whole thing, that was entertainment.